over the city. Even the church has jumped on the bandwagon.
I'd also suggest that the interest in Melbourne right now on St Kilda would be probably far greater than what the Crows are experiencing in Adelaide.
It's Adelaide's first appearance in a grand final, but for coach Malcolm Blight and St Kilda coach Stan Elves, this weekend's clash has memories of its own. The last time either of them won a flag, they were teammates in North Melbourne's victorious year in 1977. Tracy Hutchison, The Nightline.
Adelaide Crows face a happy dilemma this week. Coach Malcolm Blight has too many players to choose from. On the downside, he says South Australia is still coming to terms with how to handle being in a grand final.
Blight was in a jovial mood today and was keen to talk philosophically.
This is like a new adventure to me, a whole new adventure. And I can't change my past and I can't change that history, but what I can do is actually try and help the Adelaide Footy Club to make some history of their own.
Blight believes the state is still coming to grips with the fact the Crows are playing in a grand final.
I think that's probably true. It's a bit new for everybody, isn't it? And I would suggest too that some of the players, we had a bit of a chat last night, and outlining what happens was quite interesting, and I was just observing their faces. I mean, it was, this is what we're going to do now, isn't it? This is what we do. So it is a bit new.
The Crows will welcome back ruckman David Pittman after serving a one-match suspension, but selectors will also look at a number of other players for the grand final. Simon Tregenza was outstanding in the SANFL second semi-final on Sunday, while his teammate Brett Chalmers also impressed.
Coming through hard with James.
Brett James made his presence felt, and Barry Stanfield is also around the mark. The team is surprisingly relaxed despite playing in its first grand final. The Saints are short favourites to win their second flag.
Fever gets everywhere, even the halls of academia. As the Adelaide Crows prepare for their AFL showdown with St Kilda, a South Australian researcher says he can prove football umpires can't help but favour their home team.
They're excited in Adelaide, but Jamison has to give it up.
Psychologist Dr. Phil Moore says he's found clear support for the widely held view that umpires subconsciously favour teams from their home state.
It would have to be every bit as valuable as the one percenters when you consider the possible influence of a decision that can turn a game.
The study shows that in matches between Victorian and non-Victorian teams, the Victorian sides received 11% more frees. Most of those prevented the non-Victorian sides, like the Crows, from scoring. But the bias isn't confined to Victorian umpires. It seems that if the men in white on the MCG on Saturday were South Australians, they'd be favouring the Crows.
Well, we have a tendency as people to divide ourselves into groups, then to identify with a group, and somehow to value our fellow group members more highly than other people.
Dr. Moore says the bias isn't deliberate, but it lends weight to the belief that an umpire's state of origin does make a difference. Rick Teague, 10 News.
Seen the Crows' last training run at Football Park. Trent Orman-Allen has been ruled out with glandular fever. They fly to Melbourne on Friday for the grand final parade.
Especially in Adelaide, where earlier we spoke to Mark Aston at Football Park on the build-up to Saturday's big game. There was a good turnout earlier in the week, but what about training tonight?
Billy, we had a pretty good night here on Monday night, didn't we? We got about 1,500. Well, tonight was huge. 20,000, Billy. It was unbelievable. The scenes were extraordinary. The boys trained for about an hour, and I can tell you that the most memorable moment and the most emotional moment was right at the end of the night when the boys did a lap of honour and the 20,000 stood as one and applauded. It was just fantastic. The training session went pretty well. There is bad news, Bill, for the Adelaide Footy Club. Trent Orman-Allen is out of the grand final. He's got glandular fever. He's obviously distraught about it. He's had a pretty good year because he broke his jaw earlier in the season, but he's had 2 or 3 good games back, so he'd be very disappointed about that. Everyone's pretty relaxed here. It's quite extraordinary. I spoke to Peter Caven earlier tonight. This is what he had to say.
I suppose after tonight's training I feel a bit more nervous, I suppose, and I wait till the parade, sort of get cheered and get booed and that sort of thing. So I'm waiting in anticipation. I'm very excited. It's been a very exciting week so far, and 2 more sleeps and we'll create some history.
I think I might just have a bit of a polish before the game and that'll be about it. You blokes are laughing. Okay, now what is Bound for Glory Footy Plus Special?
we look back at the Crows' magnificent season, Mark Bickley, Troy Bond and Ben Hart talk about the highs and lows, the pain and passion. Malcolm Blight gives his special insight into Saturday's game. We'll bring you the grand final team lineups. Plus, Adelaide, you asked for it, you got it. An exclusive replay of Saturday's preliminary final. A Footy Plus special bound for glory on Adelaide's Channel 7, the home of football. Live 8:30 Thursday.